is ragtime? Well, ragtime is a style and genre of music that was popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Its cardinal trait is its largely syncopated or ragged style melodies in the right hand, while a steady chord and bass progression occurs in the left hand. Mainly a genre played on the piano, it has a rich history. Our story begins in the late 1890s in a town known as the cradle of ragtime, Sedalia, Missouri, a busy railroad town with a modest growing population and with travelers stopping there quite often. Consequently, it had developed one of the largest nightlife districts in the state. A man imperative to the popularization of the ragtime genre resided there during his time. His name was Scott Joplin. It was only Joplin's home for a few years, but it was a home with a special meaning for him. It is with good reason that Sedalia has become central to the Joplin story and the site of the annual Scott Joplin Ragtime Festival. It was here that he first published his famous hit known as the Maple Leaf Rag in 1899. It quickly became a national craze and was the first piece of music to reach over 1 million sheet music sales. After the large success of Maple Leaf Rag, ragtime became a hit, to say the least. Everybody in the country was now on board to feel this wonderful new intoxicating effect produced by the syncopations, a technique not used in music prior to ragtime. Scott Joplin didn't invent ragtime, however his publication of the archetypal ragtime piece is what caused the genre to take the country by storm and become the most popular genre of music for the next 15 years. For the next 10 years, he would publish a big string of ragtime hits that would include pieces such as The Ragtime Dance, Pineapple Rag, and The Entertainer, a piece that is widely known because its main melody is commonly used as music by ice cream trucks in modern times. Later in life, Joplin even attempted to have his own ragtime opera published, and he called it Treemonisha. Although it was met with far less enthusiasm than his new rags that he was putting out, by 1916, Joplin was experiencing the devastating physical and mental effects of tertiary syphilis, a disease that he had probably contracted almost 2 decades earlier in the same seedy brothels that he used to play his music in. By mid-January 1917, he had to be hospitalized and was soon transferred to a mental institution where he died on April the 1st, 1917 in New York City. The second of the big three composers was a man by the name of James Scott. He also helped to popularize the genre with his catchy ragtime compositions. Ragtime historians Rudy Blesh and Harriet Janis account that James Scott went to St. Louis, Missouri in search of his idol Scott Joplin in 1905. He located Joplin and asked if he would listen to one of his ragtime compositions. Upon hearing the rag, Scott Joplin introduced him to his own publisher, John Stark, and recommended that he publish the work. Stark published the rag a year later, and it was known as Frog Legs Rag. It quickly became a hit and was second in sales in the Stark catalog, only second to that of Joplin's own Maple Leaf Rag. Scott became a regular contributor to the Stark catalog until 1922. The final big ragtime composer was a man by the name of Joseph F. Lamb. Lamb was of Irish descent and was the only non-African American of the big three ragtime composers. However, his rags are considered to be just as good, if not even more sophisticated, than Scott Joplin's own compositions. A self-taught composer, his rags tended to be highly complex melodically, as well as engaging for the pianist. Largely incorporating Scott Joplin's melody-dominated style and James Scott's expansive use of the keyboard registers, many of his works are considered some of the most advanced ragtime compositions ever written in their times. Some of his most popular rags include Sensation Rag, written in 1908 with Scott Joplin after a chance meeting with his idol in New York City, as well as the Topliner Rag, considered by some to be one of the most melodically beautiful ragtime pieces ever written. In conclusion, ragtime is still alive today. Many pianists such as Tom Breyer specialize in playing ragtime and help to keep the genre alive by playing it for people. Sedalia, Missouri even holds an annual Scott Joplin Ragtime Festival where hundreds of musicians and ragtime lovers gather each year to celebrate and to learn more about the genre. I love to play ragtime on the piano, and I truly believe it to be some of the most fun music ever written for the piano.